Good afternoon. I want to talk about radiation. I would like to address this to the United Nations and to all the nations who are members of the United Nations and all nations who are not members of the United Nations. We have an urgent need. Urgent with capital U. Urgent need to clean our waters and clean our environment from radiation. We can do it. We have the God-given intelligence to clean it up, just like we have had the God-given intelligence to develop these weapons, these horrific weapons to test on humanity and to destroy God's gift for you. All for what? To satisfy your morbid curiosity? Or because you hate this planet? Come out and say it. This planet has an urgent need. Mahatma Gandhi, when he walked the earth physically, he humbled himself from being an attorney and being able to make a lot of money. He humbled himself because he was enlightened. Just like Albert Einstein was enlightened. Just like I am enlightened. Albert Einstein did not mean for his intelligence and for his caring personality to be used for the development of this horrific weapon and used in Japan. That was not his intention at all. Neither was it Enrico Fermi. These men thought that they were doing something good with their God-given intelligence. They did not know what was going to be done with their intelligence. Albert Einstein nor Enrico Fermi are to blame for the atomic bomb used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This was purposely orchestrated and used by our military on Japan. All because we wanted to beat the Germans to it. What does Nazi Germany and disliking the Jews and our bomb being used in Japan have anything to do with one another? It has nothing to do. That's just an excuse to develop and use such things. The war is an excuse to mutilate people so that you can have medical experiments. And you know it. If you are such intelligent, educated, and courageous, dignified man, why do you have such weapons? Is it really for self-protection, or is it to threaten one another? Come out and say it, because you know and everybody knows that this is what it's for. It is to threaten one another, to intimidate. That's not freedom for any of us, for our children. You're going to be gone and dead physically to leave a mess for our children to inherit? I don't think so. You can kill me today, but I will come out and say the way I feel, because I'm sick and tired of you cowardly men. That war does not work, because if it did, we would have already solved our problems. with the first war? Obviously, it doesn't. It's a domino effect. And it is retaliation and retaliation and retaliation. Even though our generations have nothing to do with what our ancestors did. This is why I want y'all to open up your books. And I highly recommend Jeremiah 31. Read every word. Let it sink in for a minute. Digest it. It is full of hope. And it is clearly telling you that your sins have been forgiven. And that God is going to create a new thing. And that the covenant, new covenant, is going to be in your inward parts. Meaning in your heart. Because God forgives and God forgives. But then God also has enough. God is not going to let his son die on the cross again. No. You people are murdering your own people. You're murdering them. You're using them for your disgusting testing. You already know what gamma radiation does. I'm not impressed with your intelligence. If you want to know how much gamma radiation someone can handle it, then you do it on yourself. Go on, be a brave man for your country. That's not what it's for. You know that gamma radiation testing is not for your country. It is not for the freedom of your nation or for the freedom of anyone. It is not for the betterment of humanity. It is only to generate patients. It is a lot more cost effective to send your medical students back to school so they can study naturopathic medicine. It's a lot more cost effective, more effective and efficient. I have had enough with the hypocrisy. What is the point of going to school, paying for an education, only to be able to do nothing about the establishment? I'd rather be a nobody, and I'd rather have the kind of reputation that I have, which is none. Because that way, it's okay for me to say whatever it is that I want to say. You know why? Because this is my God-given freedom to speak truth. What was the point of Dr. Martin Luther King to speak so beautifully? His speeches were flawless. Flawless. Not mine. Mine are a rough draft. Mine are raw, mediocre, because I'm not a public speaker, nor am I a preacher. I am not a dictator. I am not dictating to any of you to go and kill the enemy. I'm not dictating to any of you to go and develop weapons of mass destruction and test it on your own people. Or the enemy's people. Or better yet, let us find a testing site. You know, let's find a testing site all across the globe. Because who cares about those people over there? They're just like a minority group. Who cares? We'll pay for it. We'll pay for it later. It's not going to come out of your pockets, you suckers. It's going to come out of our children's pockets. And you know it. And the little bit of money that you're handing out to these people, to any one person, it's nothing compared to the damage. What is the point of investing in health insurance if you're going to be treating humanity this way? Isn't that contradictory? You want people to pay a good chunk of their hard-earned money, besides the taxes that are taken out, and invested in health insurance, when you're going to be polluting their air and their land and their water. And then, on top of that, you tell them they cannot have children. They cannot enjoy and have the joy of being a parent because they're being irresponsible and ignorant about the pollution. Now the victims are getting treated like morons because you hire people who have no empathy, no compassion to do this ugly work of telling people you're ignorant because this is a polluted land and water. There's no signs. And you don't want other countries to know how polluted your water and your land is, and the air, because it's bad reputation. It's not good for real estate. It's not good for tourism. But it's okay for other militaries to come and use your land to test their crap. I don't care what you do to me. You can strip me butt naked. Okay? I don't care what you do to me anymore. I have seen some horrific things already. And I'm not impressed with any of you, your intelligence. What is the point of having national security when we have these foreign agencies that are working for our governments that are foreign for national security purposes, and then we take out each other's agents because they're coming in minding somebody else's business? You're the ones who let them in. You let each other's agents in, and then you take them out. I wouldn't want that kind of job. I wouldn't want to work for an agency that's not looking after my welfare and well-being. What is the point? Is it really for national security? So why can't we combine our intelligence, the Russians and the Americans and the Chinese and the Koreans and everybody else who has weapons of mass destruction, like the British and the French and everybody over there in NATO? Why don't we combine our nuclear power and safely, on the count of 3, discombobulate all that? On the count of 3. 3, 2, 1. Safely! Not like, 3 years from now. No! That's not going to happen, and you know it. That's just putting a sucker in somebody's mouth. It's like, shut up. We don't want to hear about it. We already know it's dangerous. Okay, whatever. Yeah, we'll sign a peace treaty. We'll sign whatever treaty and lie to the world. Lie to the world. While you're still bombing Yemen. There are so many places on earth that are just like a museum of a disgrace for our children to inherit. Bravo! I'm going to grab your B and we're going to turn it to the right. And we're going to be upright, all right. And we're going to clean it up together. Because I don't care what you do to me anymore. Look how Dr. Martin Luther King behaved. Flawlessly. In a suit and tie, in a very humble salary. And he traveled humbly. And look, he warned you, didn't he? He warned you. It is not a priority to go put a man on the moon, to go hop around on the moon. It's not a priority. It's not wrong, but it's not the priority. He warned you about this Vietnam War, that our men and women, black and white, our men, don't have any business over there. He warned you, didn't he? Look how much in debt we were, and we are still. In debt, and our soldiers killed and wounded. Some of them ended up homeless or addicted to drugs because of all the psychological damage that they endured in that war from hell. All for what? For what? Did it do you any good? Was it really anti-communism? Are you so really against communism here in America? I'm not a communist. I'm not saying that everybody should have the same things, the same clothing, and the same everything. I'm saying that we all deserve a higher standard of living. And we cannot ignore the disabled. We cannot ignore the poor and the homeless. We cannot ignore that. It is our moral responsibility to do something about it. It is not fair to be purposely incarcerating poor people and putting them in jail just because they cannot afford a good lawyer, whether they're guilty or not, just to meet your agenda to enrich the few. Because these privatized jails and privatized DHR, which is the equivalent of kitty jail, to enrich the few. All of that has been happening for a long time. Dr. Martin Luther King warned you about it. He saw it coming. So what is the point? I'm not going to emulate what has been done so well. Dr. Martin Luther King was the best preacher ever that you will ever have. Dr. Bob Budley is the best interpreter of the Word of God. And he's God-given gift for us. I'm not claiming to be anything other than my father's daughter. I'm a witness and a messenger. And I'm sick and tired of the hypocrisy. Because I am a mother. I have 2 sons. My son has a son. I don't want, even if I didn't have any children of my own, I wouldn't want our children to inherit your filth. Because you're choosing to neglect it. Why can you use your combined intelligence, Russians and British and French and American, and from India and Pakistan and Korea, and all of you, sit down on the table of truth and transparency and let us talk about this nuclear thing. We already know. This is why Germany doesn't have any nuclear power anymore. Or at least they've quit. They're done developing. They're very much against it. They're not the ones who threw a bomb in Japan. Your sins have already been forgiven. But you've got to get it done and clean up. Because we don't have time to fiddle fart around. We don't. Our children are growing and developing. And when they see that most of our land is polluted and the war effort is going to continue and people are going to continue to test on their earth, they're not going to want to live. Is that your solution to the overcrowded planet? Or is it not easier to educate people on birth control? But is it fair to keep people just because they've been exposed to radiation, to keep them from enjoying parenthood? No, that's not right. It's not right to treat people like they're ignorant because they're not aware of how polluted their water is or their land. Not only from radiation, but from pollution, because people throw things. Everywhere I go, there's at least one side of town that has trash in the streets. This is no excuse to be mass incarcerating people so that we can have the prisoners cleaning up our streets. The most cost-effective and logical thing to do, in my opinion, is to provide trash cans in these strip malls. Place strategic signs reminding people to keep the city beautiful, that it is their responsibility, in a friendly manner. But then also remind them that they could be fined while littering, whether they're on foot or in the car. There needs to be more trash containers available. We need to have more recycling available in the schools, in the hotels. More recycling. Just like Whole Foods has it available. It can be done. It can be done. It's not harder. It's not a pain in the butt. It can be done. Let us emulate the good in one another. So obviously we have Whole Foods here and there. I mean, we have them. So obviously they're able to work something out with either the city, or somehow they get rid of their trash that's already separated to expedite. Because orderliness and cleanliness equals godliness. I worked with a doctor who would say that often, and he was very, very right about that. Transparency does not mean we need to be X-rating people. Transparency does not mean that we need to be invading people's privacy, putting cameras in the toilets, putting cameras in the bathrooms, putting cameras in the showers, in the bedrooms, in the hotels, so you can blackmail or mock somebody, or for your personal entertainment, or for your personal pornography with somebody else's image. That's not what transparency means. True transparency is having more honesty with those whom you are serving. This is what we're doing for you with your taxes. Give back to the people who give to you. I mean, I'm here in this house, and I'm very grateful to be here. Not without my son, I'm not grateful about that, but I'm grateful to be here. But I work, I clean, I vacuum, I cook, because that's the least that I can do to pay back. To pay back for my car, to pay back for when I go grocery shopping, and to pay back for being here. I'm frustrated because I don't have my son with me. But that's not because it's my desire. All of these things are strategically timed and orchestrated by administration and the people. Because there are people that are allowed to invade, you know, like, it's like, come on, everybody! She's the helper! Just to mock me. Just to disrespect me. And to rob me. So we have had Dr. Martin Luther King, who spoke flawlessly. His speeches were flawless. If you have time to listen, do make time to listen to his speeches. They were flawless, and they're about 45 minutes long. I enjoy every second of it. He wasn't one to repeat himself. He was one to move on. But he got it all in there. And that takes a lot of skill. And that's because he was a professional speaker. He was a preacher. He was the most well-read person that I know of in various subjects. So he was able to weave everything. And Mahatma Gandhi, he humbled himself for the people when he became enlightened. They incarcerated these people over and over and over. The police didn't want to do it. They had no choice. Whose fault is it that we have mass incarceration? Is it the police officers? No. No. The police officers are following orders. They have chosen a profession and they do their job. If we paid better salaries for our police officers, we wouldn't have so much other stuff going on that has been going on. Like implanting evidence, implanting drugs, all of that I know is of the past. Here in America, I hope. I believe that police officers don't make enough money for what they do. They're risking their lives every day. I believe that firefighters don't make enough money for what they do. They risk their lives every time they go out there. And on top of that, they have to wear a mask. I don't like to wear masks at all. At all. I cannot imagine working in the heat and the smoke and barely able to see. And in the heat and the danger. And with all of that equipment. I know doctors work hard. They're on their feet a lot. They don't sleep a lot oftentimes. They sacrifice family time and personal time. I know that. Oftentimes they have to wear a mask, especially if they're surgeons. It's not comfortable. You have to do what you love and love what you do. But we don't need to be creating a problem just to generate jobs. We don't need to be creating criminals just to have more police officers. We don't need to be creating patients just so that we can have more doctors. The jobs of the future are sustaining the earth. Cleaning it together now for them so that they can sustain it. If you ever speak to a housekeeper, to me, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, one of the best housekeepers are those ladies from Brazil. They're experts at cleaning house. They say that they start from the back of the room and then they work their way toward the front. And then they start from the top in the back and then they work their way. And when they go to clean a house for the first time, they tell the client, I'm going to deep clean. It's probably going to take me 2 or 3 times to deep clean. And then it's going to be a matter of maintaining it. But they're not going to go to a house and pick up kids' toys out of the way. No, usually when people have enough money to afford a housekeeper, they will have taught their children good manners. And they will have taught their children not to leave a mess for the housekeeper, because she's going to come and sweep and mop and vacuum and dust, and she does not want a mess for her to have to clean twice as much. So they're there between a certain time and a certain time to get their jobs done, to go to another house, to be able to pick up their children before when school lets out. So they only have so much time to get it done, each house. They usually only have time to do 2 or 3 houses per day. But they'll go and deep clean a house and deep clean it kind of half the house, a third of the house. And then they'll come back. They'll do the baseboards and the fans and all the little crevices, and if there's mold somewhere or the refrigerator needs deep cleaning or whatever the owner of the house wants them to do extra, they'll do it. But when they come back, it's just a matter of maintaining it. And usually these houses are impeccable. They don't even look like they need to be cleaned because they are maintained. Do you understand that this whole earth is our home? Don't be lazy. If I don't like to clean dishes, because I personally like long fingernails. My long fingernails are like my tools. They're extensions of my fingers. I feel like the tips of my fingers are missing when I have no nails. But I don't like to get my nails done. I like to do my own nails. I like to do my own hair. I like to give my own massage. I like to take care of my own self. That's just the way I'm put together. So when I don't have any nails, I feel like something's missing. But I don't like to do dishes. And in doing all these dishes, you lose your nails in all this hand washing. But it is what it is. I have to do what I have to do to sustain myself. But none of you can say that I am not able to sustain myself wherever I go. I could be in China or in France or in India or anywhere on this earth, and I could make a living out of what I do. Whether it's translate, whether it's cook or clean, or do my hair or somebody else's hair. And none of you can say, oh, well, we came here to America and we had to leave our families behind, so you have to do the same. You have to suffer what we suffer. You have to start from scratch, because we have a degree from our country and we came over here and we have to start from scratch all over again. Do housekeeping or whatever. You wouldn't want that for your children, would you? Only in America. I managed an infertility clinic. And it was not like pretend. It was managing. I worked directly for a physician. And I worked an extra hour at the beginning of the day and an extra hour and a half at the end of the day. I worked through my lunchtime sometimes to make time, and it was worth it. And none of you can tell me that I don't know about the human life, about responsibility, about being on time. Because when you have to do something, you do it, and you do it well. And my patients even wrote the commander of the 81st Medical Group. They wrote good things about me, about my customer service, my bedside manner, because I am and always will be a provider. Health care provider with good bedside manner. I put myself in that person's shoes in the bed from their point of view. How I talk to them and how I touch them. Because they're sick or wounded or have just birthed. You people need compassion. You cannot be testing radiation on people and then pretend like, oh well, it was for testing. Testing what? You already know what it does. So, if I don't like cleaning dishes, the most intelligent thing for me to do is to rinse it immediately. Immediately! This is what my mother taught me. She taught me when we were growing up. Do not leave your toys on the floor for the housekeeper to have to pick up your toys before she has to mop and sweep the floor. We didn't have carpeting in Panama because it's too hot. We didn't have hot water because it's too hot. So, that's what she taught us. She taught us to make our own bed because she said that's the least that you can do is make your own bed. So it came natural to me when I went in the military and had to make my own bed. It comes natural for me to make my own bed in the morning and make my child's bed before he goes to school or when I come back home after dropping him off from school. Because that is a job. Because if I don't do it, somebody else has to do it, and our government pays that person to do it. A foster parent or after school care. Because they want to prove that I am lazy, not professional. So now that my reputation is trashed and I've been stripped butt naked, I have nothing to lose. So I am the perfect candidate for this job and I love it. I love what I do. I love listening to people and I love crying with people. I love talking to my Papa God. I love seeing Paul and Jeremiah and be reminded, weep no more, fight no more. But what they're talking about is fighting a different kind of fight. And I am free to come to my Papa God. And I don't care if you think I'm crazy. I don't care if you think I'm acting. I will act like nothing ever happened to me. I will act like I'm just a little prissy Miss Prissy girl walking around with my pride. And you will never know. And that's how I act. And I don't act when it comes to God. And I'm not bluffing when I tell you that I am a messenger and I'm a witness and a messenger in that order. Twice. So if I don't want to be scrubbing this stuck-on stuff I rinse it immediately so that I don't have to scrub so hard and work so hard. So it is best to clean up immediately or to avoid making a mess altogether. Why would I want to make a mess around here if I don't want to vacuum it? Because if I don't vacuum it, the roaches come. Or it'll stain the carpet. So I just try not to make a mess. And if I make a mess, I clean it up immediately. Does that make sense to you? This is why I wanted to have my restaurant. So I could teach people how to clean their hands. And how to be clean in the kitchen. And I wanted to teach the kids about nutrition so that they could have an intelligent conversation with the client, the customer, the patron, the guest whom they're serving. Have an intelligent conversation. When somebody says, I have an allergy, or, I have a sensitivity, or, I'm a vegetarian. Oh, no problem. Here's the menu. Just go to your sub-menu. Everything in there has already been calculated for you. Don't worry. 12 sub-menus because I like the number 12. I do. I like the number 7 and 12 and 3 and 4. Yes. I am my Father's daughter, and so are you. So, we are His children, and it is our responsibility to clean our house. The end is a new beginning. Earth, with the H at the end. The beginning of home. Heart. The head is to heaven as the heart is to earth. New. New heart, new earth. New heaven, new head. We're not going to be beheading people because they're speaking their mind. That's barbaric. Do you want to be put in a time machine and sent back to the times of the beheading of the people back in the days? What if they behead you? Let us not be fools. Let us put our God-given intelligence and all our faith and enthusiasm and clean up the mess we have made together for our children, because we're getting old and they're growing up. Thank you.